Okay, welcome back. Before we get started, hit that like button and subscribe. All right, welcome back, man. Before I start, man, I'm just trying to adjust this brightness on here because it just seems too dark on my end. I cleaned the lens. This is a new phone. This is a Google Pixel 10 XL. And it just seemed like it's just, you know, like the brightness is going in and out. All right, let's get into it. So you're thinking about purchasing land, you want to start at homestead. All right, first of all, man, you gotta have a budget, man. You got to have some type of budget because I have seen a lot of people who just venture out, pack their things up, man, and just venture out and think they're just gonna live off the land, man, with no experience, no research, no nothing, man. And I have seen a lot of people do it, man. Try to do it, and they failed because they didn't calculate it right. They didn't have enough revenue saved up. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Let me fix this. This thing is. Let me just jack it up a little bit. All right, we're gonna leave. We're gonna roll with it. All right. So you're thinking about purchasing a homestead. Okay. So first, and this is just me. This is just my experience. First thing you want to do is you want to choose a location. You want to do your research, man. Check if it's in a flood zone, how much rain, or if do they have issues with livestock? Can you have livestock in that area? And also the cost. You have to know how much land, because I know most people they want to go out and buy a couple of acres of land, but you have to attend to that land. You have to have equipment. You know, you have to think about all that stuff. So the first thing is the cost. You have to do your research, and I mean, the price of land has gone up. I'm thinking back when I started, um, you can get an acre for like maybe $5,000 in the area I was in, and that was almost 6 years ago, almost 6, 7 years ago. So it was running like 5,000 an acre. No, with taxing about 55, about 5,500 an acre. Um, like I said, you want to check and see if your area is in a flood zone. You know, you want to check that out, and you also want to check and see if you can have certain livestock on your property. Because I know certain areas, man, they won't let you. I think they have like a covenant or something where you cannot have uh, certain livestock. So you want to check that out. All right. So you purchased your land, you did your research, your due diligence, and you found out that you didn't have to worry about flood zone and stuff like that. All right. So the next thing, are you trying to purchase property with utilities on it? Does the area have utilities? Can you access utilities? If not, you have to think about the cost of solar panels. If you're trying to do that off grid, you have to think about um, getting a well. You know, I think the cost was the area that I'm currently in. I think the gentleman was starting out at 5K, 5K, and that's just 200. I think 200 feet, 200 feet down, 5K, and then you have to think about septic. You have to think about all that stuff if you're trying to do the off grid thing, man. Because even though it's your land, you still have to um, check with your local municipalities and get with them, man. Because you just can't just do anything, man. You know, so you got to get a cost on that, and a cost for a septic, depending on the size of your house. You're talking about almost 4,500 for that. Yeah, $4,500. That's what I was quoted. All right, so you want to tally all those numbers up, man, because I'm telling you, I have seen a lot of people that try to do the off-grid thing and fail. Not because they didn't try, It's just that they didn't have everything calculated, man. And the biggest thing they didn't consider is the weather, Mother Nature. You know, you go up there when it's nice and warm and the area looks good, but you got to think about, man, when those temperatures drop. That's another thing you want to consider. And I'm gonna tell you straight up. You got to have money. You have to have money. If you think you're gonna do off gridding and you got about $300 or $400 in your pocket, and you just manage to purchase, let's say you saved up and you purchase your land. If you think that you're just gonna go and live on there in that tent without nothing else, you're gonna be you're gonna get a shock. I'm telling you, you're gonna be shocked. You are definitely going to be shocked, man. Because when those temperatures drop, depending on your location, you know? So please do your research on that. Let's talk about power. How are you going to get power? Most people say, okay, I'm going to buy a couple of solar panels. All right, you got to have money for that. You're talking about, what, 3, 4 solar panels, 100 watt, 200 watts. You got to think about all of that stuff. And where you're going to put all this equipment. Like I said, if you think you're going to come up there, with the tent, you better have another plan, man. Or you better have a serious tent. You better have something that's quality. You think you're going to go up there with one of those Walmart tents, you're going to be shocked. I'm telling you. I'm just giving you my experience. You're going to be shocked. All right. So you figured out what type of solar panels. You got all of that figured out. Now you have to think about water. You know, if that piece of property that you purchased didn't come with a utilities on it, and you have to dig a well, you have to make sure that water is potable, because you could be in the area and just because you have a well and you get that water tested and it's not potable, guess what? You're in trouble. So you have to do all of that stuff, man. That's why you got to take samples down to, I forgot where we took the samples at, the name of the place, but I'll put it in the video later. But yeah, you got to get water samples and stuff like that. This camera, oh man, I got to fix this. But what about your sewage? Most people go in there and, they don't realize that they have to discard their sewage and stuff like that. How are you going to get rid of your solids and stuff like that? But you're going to have a one of those what's them toilets, man, you use to, oh man, my brain is not working right. But y'all know what I'm talking about. One of those toilets where you can put the wood shavings in and do all that, or you're just going to use camping bags. So you got to think about all of that stuff, man. Now, let's get to taking care of the land. You have to maintain the road. Let's say you get a large, your area gets, I'm talking about rain. It's just rain on and off, man. You have to think about the road quality. You have to maintain that road. No one's coming in to help you. You have to budget for that also. I'm talking about gravel. Then I'm talking about, you're not going to go out there with no picks and no shovel. You're going to either need to hire someone, or you're going to need to get some type of an equipment to spread that gravel. So think about all this stuff. If you're thinking about going out and starting a homestead and stuff like that, you're definitely going to need money. You're going to need to save, man. You are going to need to save up. So, in some cases, man, where I'm at, the road from the main road up until the area, up into the back area to get to my area is probably a quarter. No, I wouldn't say quarter. Yeah, almost a quarter of a mile. Almost a quarter of a mile of road, I would say. Yeah, almost a quarter of a mile. And you talking about putting stone all through that area. I'm talking about from the main road to that private road all the way to the back area where I'm at. You know, or in your case, it depends on your location and how you have your thing set up. But you definitely want to think about um, road maintenance. So you got to add that to your list. And you're talking about stone can run you 20 tons of clean crusher run, depending on what you get, or it's up to you. You're talking about almost $400 or $500, $400 or $500 for 15 ton, 20 tons of stone, and that's and depending on the length of your road and how bad it is, hey, you may have to get 3 or 4 trucks. So take that into consideration. Now let's talk about equipment. What are you going to do to spread that stone? You know, what are you going to do? If you didn't have equipment when you started out on your journey, you got to save up for that also. You know, if you got neighbors that's willing to help you out, you got to think about all that stuff. All of this stuff is going to take a lot of money. And I'm not saying this to discourage anyone. I'm just being real. It's going to take some money. It's going to take some hard work. It's going to take some sacrifices. Like I said, man, I have seen people, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to live off grid. I'm going to do that. 1 or 2 years, they was packing up. Because they was not prepared for that cold weather. They didn't have enough propane. They didn't have enough firewood. But not to mention that, you got, yeah, and that's another thing on my list. Now you're in winter season, the cold season. What are you going to do to stay warm? I mean, you got to get yourself tools. You got to get chainsaws. You got to get axe and picks and stuff like that. Log splitters. If if that's what you want. But it's going to take a lot of man hours to get that supply up. I'm just going to quickly go through this. You know, you want to get a nice truck, 4x4. You ain't going up there in no just a basic car, man. Especially if you off grid, man, because you might get in areas where there's a bunch of just rugged terrain. So think about that too. Do you have the vehicle for it? Also storing this stuff. Where are you going to store this stuff at? Because you definitely don't want to have it out in the out in the open. You got to have your stuff secure. Now they do have those storage containers. I saw them online for approximately about $2,000. Get yourself a nice storage container. You can put all your tools and stuff in, but it's going to take money. It's going to take some hard work and dedication to get all that stuff complete. No, you're not going to do it in one day, depending on your funds and the situation. It may take you a couple of years to get everything organized. Because if you got to cut down trees, you got to manicure that area, you got to get it all nice and neat. Then you got to think about the bugs, the ticks, the fleas, and all that. You got to think about all of that stuff. And then let's say if you want to put cameras up, you got to get security if you want to do cameras, or if you want to put a fence. I just did a price check on some round fence posts. It was a 6.5. No, they were 6-inch in diameter, and then they were approximately 8 by 6. I think they were 8 by 6, something like that. Man, they want $25 each for a post. That's what they want right now. If you go in that direction, I know you probably can get a deal on Facebook Marketplace, but Tractor Supply and stuff like that. Now they do have the smaller posts. I think they're $10.99, but it's $11 a post. So if you're thinking about putting a fence up, like I said, man, everything costs money. Now you can check around and see if you can find some stuff for free, or you basically have to shop around. So I'm telling you, man, it takes money, man. It's going to take some money. You know, I see a lot of people come out there, man, and they just don't understand. You're starting, you got to pay for everything. Unless you got somebody that's seriously helping you, that's donating to you, you got to call some kind of GoFundMe and they're funding it. But it's definitely going to cost money. It's definitely going to cost money. You got a lot of videos out here, man, and they show you, oh, you can do this, you can do that, oh, you can get these batteries, and you can do this, you can get this solar cell set up, but they're not telling you they're telling you what they have been doing, but they're not being straight up with you. Some of that stuff is sponsored. You know, they send it in, trying it out for a company. They're not actually spending their money. Some of them, not all. I'm not saying everyone. I'm just saying the average Joe, if you starting out, you're going to have to buy that stuff. So I just wanted to bring some of this stuff. I ain't even get into half of the stuff that you have to get. But if you're thinking about starting out, purchasing land, you want to get your funds right. That's my biggest thing. You want to have money. You want to have everything set up. Because you ain't going nowhere if you ain't got you don't have no money saved up. It's just not going to work. Seriously, man. You got to have some type of skill. Get some books and learn your environment where you trying to start your homestead and land and stuff like that. Because it's going to take some research. I'm telling you, man. Seriously. It's going to take a lot of research, and it's going to take a lot of revenue. I'm not talking about millions and millions of dollars, but it's going to take, you ain't going nowhere if you got $500 and you ain't going nowhere with that. So that ain't going to happen, man. You're going to have to save up your money, do your research. And the one thing I can say, if you do start out, right? If you do start out and you purchase land, if you want to, take it easy, you want to do the turtle walk, purchase the stuff, set some goals out, start from one area, boom. If you got a road that needs some maintenance, start on the road first. Make that a first priority. Get that road together, get the gravel in, work on a piece of equipment, or pay a company or pay someone that know how to grade roads and spread gravel. Pay them, get that road straightened out, and then you move on to the next section and just keep chopping away at it. I would say that's my best approach. That's what I had to do, man. There ain't no donations over here. There is no donations. It's just me putting in work, doing what I have to do, getting certain equipment, certain tools that's going to get the job done. Certain things you got to cut out, but that's just me, man. So if you're thinking about purchasing land, you got to have some money, man. You got to have some money. You got to have a strong, just a strong willpower, man, because it's gonna be a lot of you're gonna start getting sidetracked. You know, you got to stay focused and do what you got to do. All right, man. So that's just some of the stuff you want to think about. The costs can vary depending on your area, how much, digging a well, septic tanks, just basically everything, man. You want to shop around for deals. Just pick up things on the way, man. It's going to be beneficial to you. All right, I'm out. Hit that like button and subscribe.